FEMA had to face Congress today about what happened or didn't happen in North Carolina. Listen to Representative Garrett Graves ask the FEMA administrator about their aid distribution.
As I understand is that in North Carolina, for example, where I visited, you could have a flood or disaster victim that can get a check for $750. Yet when I go through and I look at the programs and resources that are available to a citizen of a different country that came illegally into the United States, under the FEMA administered program using nonprofits, you could be eligible for housing, for food, for transportation, for healthcare costs, and others. I was able to come, looking at the very documents that these nonprofits were using, I was able to get to a figure in excess of $10,000 for an individual. Let me make note again, that is a citizen of a foreign country. How would I explain to a taxpayer that a taxpayer, a citizen of the United States, is eligible for $750, yet a citizen of a foreign country under your agency is still eligible for assistance of $10,000?
Adam Smith is a former Green Beret who spent 17 years conducting global military operations in defense of the United States. But almost 2 months ago, he had to apply his military training to rescue his daughter and her mother and help countless other North Carolinians throughout his group with Savage Freedom's relief operations. So Adam joins us right now. And Adam, I mean, it's good to see you again. I wish it was under better circumstances, though. So what's your reaction when you hear that video and you hear that it's easier for illegals to get money than you and your neighbors?
I go back to the original statement I first made, which is it would be a lie if I was surprised. Watching it real time, firsthand on the ground, we're having conversations with individuals who are regularly denied applying for assistance. So they apply for assistance and it's denied to them. And it's a multitude of different types of assistance. Everything from, a $750 check, which is immediate response assistance, to having FEMA support for grant money coming in to help cover down on damage to the homes. And even that is a limited number. It seems in a lot of ways as if FEMA has shifted its overall how it overall operates from what it was earmarked to do to become sort of this protector of its own funding in order to justify its own existence. And that's a big battle for people on the ground. There's a lot of people that are having conversations about just leaving because of the amount of challenge that they're facing with regards to trying to get FEMA assistance on the ground.
Adam, can you update us about that situation now? I mean, where do things stand now? Because, of course, a lot of Americans, news cycle moves fast. They still care, but it just hasn't been something that's put in front of their faces. What should they know about where things stand?
Well, I think America should know in general that the effort on the ground is not done. We've been at it for 8 weeks up to this point. The disaster in the region it's devastating, and it's still devastating. There's not a lot of reconstruction happening with private residences. There's not a lot of repairs happening with private residences. There are some, but it's not as extensive as one would assume after 8 weeks of a disaster that we've seen. There's going to be a delay on getting locations rezoned by FEMA to dictate whether or not new spots are going to be part of the floodplains or not part of the floodplains. Not to mention the national level conversation about the functionality, the effectiveness, the efficiency, and the actual costly nature of how FEMA functions and operates in general. There's a lot of inefficient effort that's taking place, and it's costing the American taxpayers a lot of dollars. And add to the next problem, which is the second disaster that we're going to face, which is an economic disaster in the region. We've already had the tragedy of the loss of life, and we've had the tragedy of loss of homes and homesteads. Now we're going to have the tragedy of loss of economic stability in the region because capital is not getting reinjected back into the local businesses and local economy as effectively and efficiently as it could be. So it's not over, and we're not out of the water yet.
So at that point, then, if the capital is needed, what more needs to be done? What do you guys need there in Western North Carolina?
Well, look, part of the problem that a lot of the local residents are facing is that if they own their home, if they had a lien on their home, then they still have that mortgage that they have to pay. They can file for a FEMA-backed SBA loan, and if it gets approved, but now they have 2 bags of debt that they have to carry in order to try and rebuild or repair their home. Our target with the Special Forces Relief Operations, the Savage Freedom's Relief Operations, I just had a phenomenal conversation with a bunch of former Green Berets. I'm sorry, it's still on my mind. The biggest target is to rebuild 1,000 homes. How do we rebuild 1,000 homes as a private entity? Well, the only way we do that is through private effort, private sector effort, moving money from the private sector through organizations on the ground that are dedicating their effort to rebuilding these homes and keeping people in the region. We're going to run into an issue where businesses are going to close because there's not going to be a workforce, and the workforce isn't going to stay because there's not going to be businesses to work at. So it's a bit of a complicated issue. But the first step into fixing that problem is to rebuilding these homes and getting that money back on the ground. The number one thing we need more than anything else is donations and funding. I would love to have a conversation with churches all over the country and get them to sponsor one home rebuild, or have a conversation with other foundations that are of like mind and get them to sponsor 2 or 3 homes to rebuild. If we could do that, we could start rebuilding tomorrow. But with the limited funding that we currently have in our own coffers and the current delay in definitive decision making by county authorities and by federal authorities, it's going to be challenging to start that construction process without potential long-term effects to the homeowners.
So is there a place right now, if people do want to donate, if this video does get out, if people start sharing this, where should they go to help out?
So there's 2 places to go. The first place to go is savagefreedoms.com. You can go to savagefreedoms.com and you can click the donate page and you can donate there. The second place to go, because we're getting close to Christmas, is santa.savageops.org. If you could go to that, you can also have the opportunity to donate to support the effort that we're putting forward with regards to a toy drive and an Operation Santa Claus, which is going to be,
we know,
Adam.
Be
a lot of fun.
We know. And you know what? You're not going to get out of this because you put a video out online. Let's go ahead and see Adam playing Santa here.
Hey! Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas from Savage Operations. We want to let you know that we have been working diligently with 10 different community coordinators that have signed up over 200 children to get their wish lists so that we can bring a very Merry Christmas to Western North Carolina. If you want to partake or participate in this, we would love to have you go to santa.savageops.org. And there you can find all of the lists for children all over Western North Carolina that you could buy a gift for and bring a little Christmas cheer. Now, with that being said, Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.
It's so good. I love that. Green Beret actor, the resume just keeps expanding there, Adam.
I got to tell you, it's probably one of the most fun videos we've done so far. It was lighthearted. It was fun. And the number now is 500. So
Good.
we did the video. We had about 200 children. Now we have 500 children. We're partnering with a multitude of other nonprofits on the ground. And the one thing that we want to be able to do is we want to make certain that we bring Christmas cheer and deliver hope. It's something that's seemingly slowly slipping away because people are having so many problems on the ground figuring out what the next steps are going to be.
Well, Adam, on that note, before we let you go, I know that when Donald Trump came out to visit, which he did, to the region, you gave him a small wooden cross. Could you speak a little bit for our audience about how this entire experience has impacted your faith?
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think more people will have found God through this experience and in this region than anywhere else in the United States in the last year or 2. I've seen more miracles on the ground in the last 8 weeks than maybe I've ever experienced in my entire life. And I personally have never witnessed this. You asked and it showed up. We needed insulin and it showed up. We needed jackets because there was going to be a cold snap and they showed up. We needed oxygen because all of the oxygen had run out at the county level for a multitude of different agencies. And we asked and it showed up. And a lot of times we didn't even send a text message out or send a request out. We just said it out loud and it was provided for. And it was like God was sitting on our shoulder the entire time, making certain that whatever we had to have showed up right then. And the biggest impact of all is seeing my daughter and her mom healthy and well after having no contact with them for such a long period of time. And it's seeing every person that's left that fob come up and say, thank you for this opportunity. We found God in this place.
Yeah, Adam, it's been a life-changing experience, not only for myself, but for Glenn Beck and Steve Baker, who's been out there. Anybody that has been able to go through and see the work that you and your team have done. You deserve all the credit out there and all the accolades. I know you're not going to take them, but these people have hope because of what you've been able to do. So I hope that everybody can find it in their hearts to go help you guys out.